Hey designer, Alex here, welcome to the channel and welcome to this new video series here on the channel in which we are going to talk about website design in Adobe XD. In this 4-part video series we are going to create website design for travel agency in Adobe XD. We are going to start with paper wireframes and then bring those paper wireframes to Adobe XD to create wireframes which we can share with our client. Then after that we are going to create design from those wireframes by adding images, icons, colors and more. And finally, in the last video of the series we are going to create different interactions, different animations and different hover effects. These videos are inserted from my new course Website Design in Adobe XD Travel Agency, and you can check it out on my website with a massive discount. Simply enter coupon code YouTube and you're going to get that massive discount. Or you can also check out my membership where you can get all of my courses, design products, product files for my YouTube videos, mentorship and much more. Links to everything I mentioned are going to be down in the description below, so you can check them out. Also, there's going to be a link to this playlist down in the description below as well. In this third video from this video series, we are going to move on to design. So in the previous two videos, we went from paper wireframes, we brought them in, we created wireframe in Adobe XD. Now in this third video, we are going to add some images, colors, shadows and more to bring that design to life, which we can then share with our clients, developers and teammates. So without any further ado, let's get started. Alright, now that the wireframe is done in Adobe XD, now it's the time to add all of these different images. We're going to add drop shadows, we're going to get rid of some of these outlines and just spice our design a little bit, just add some life to it and just add some visual interest, because like this your client might not understand what's going on, and by adding images, by adding colors and sticking to the brand, it will appear as it belongs to that particular brand, in this case working with our client. So we're going to get started and I'm going to zoom in a little bit and I'm going to double click right here and simply call this wireframe like this, and then I'm going to hold my Alt key and simply move it right here and position it, for example, for 70, doesn't matter really with the spacing. And I'm going to remove the wireframe from this name because this is going to be our design. Now the first things first, we need to add some more colors, because we have some colors already, but we have to add a brand color because it's going to be blue in this case that you can see from these icons. And I can do that right away, so I can click on my icon and I can click right here and I can call it, for example, main blue, like that. And I'm also going to add a hover blue, for example, because we are going to include some different hover effects later. So it will be really useful for us to add all of those hover details and hover effects right away. And I'm going to quickly add the hover color. So I'm going to jump inside and change this text, for example, to this blue color, like so. And I'm going to click right here to add it, double click inside and call this hover blue, because in some cases we're going to have different hover effects and different hover colors, so that's why I want it to be named hover blue. Now because this text is going to be this color, let's change it, or even better, you know what, let's add it to main blue, because this icon is main blue. And I'm going to add it to main blue here as well. Last thing I want to do is to change the color of these titles and of these big letters right here. So I like this color, but I don't think it's dark enough. So I'm going to jump inside of here and add something which is almost black. So 6ED6F2. So let's paste it in. For some reason I pasted in the wrong color. I pasted in that light blue previously. So it's going to be 30, 30, 30. As you can see, it's almost black and we are going to call it that. So almost black. and it's just going to help us differentiate and separate our sections. You can clearly see from here it sort of blends in with this dark gray color, but with this almost black color it really stands out a little bit more. So I'm just going to hold my control key to click inside of these, and I'm going to do the same for this. So you just hold your control key, click inside, and then select these titles like so. I'm going to click on this one, and finally this one for the subscribe. And there we have it. Now that all of that is finished, what I'm going to do really quickly is I'm going to jump inside of here and add my image. And I'm also going to add a color overlay to it, because with the hero image, I want to add a color overlay because that's going to help our text stand out a little bit against any kind of background that we include in the background. So for example, no matter how image is exposed, if you see the sky or not, if you see the buildings, if you see whatever, if you have a color overlay on top of it, you can simply play around with your text a little bit more. So let's jump inside our hero section. Let's close all of these up. So where it is, top section, hero image, here it is. I'm going to Control D to duplicate it, and I'm going to call this hero image color overlay like this. And by the way, I'm giving them these names just for developers' sakes, so it's much simpler for them to enter this into code if they want to do that like this. So I'm going to give it, for example, this almost black, and I'm going to lower it down to 70% like so. And I'm going to jump inside right here and hide it, because I want to really jump inside and add my image really quickly. So I have these images which I'm going to link down in the description below, and these images are from Envato Elements. So I'm going to give you the link to the collection. Images are premium. There we have it. Images are premium, but you can grab that collection for yourself if you choose to go premium with Envato Elements. If not, you can simply follow this tutorial by using free resources from sites like Unsplash, for example. But as I explained in the course, you are going to get various different results because they don't have these great collections. They don't have consistency in their photography, they don't have consistency in lighting, and most important thing of all is they don't have collections. So if I jump inside of this collection, for example, of this photographer on Envato Elements, I will have thousands of different images to choose from, all under same lighting, all under same conditions, and so on. So that's why I choose to go with premium images all the time rather than these free images. And because of the collections and quality of these images, that means that I can get consistency in my designs. Therefore, all of my designs look much cleaner and much better. So now let's add a few changes here and there. First of all, this City of Love text, I'm going to change to this main blue just to indicate that something is changing. I'm going to jump inside of here and add a few changes to my button first of all. So I'm going to hit Control D, and I'm going to call it button color, for example, like that. And for our button color, let's see, perhaps we can add something like that blue color. So let's jump inside of here, give it the main blue, and we're going to show it but hide our border like that. And let's see, we can create different states in the next video, or even better, let's do that now. So I'm going to simply lower it down to 1 in height. It's going to jump to the top, but I'm going to move it down to the bottom like that. And I'm going to lower the opacity down to 0% and just leave it like this for now. Now that that's completed, I can move on to my bottom nav, and I'm going to do the same thing for this button, but I'm going to just change its color from this color to the main blue like this. And I like how that looks like, so I'm going to leave it at that. Perhaps the only thing I can change is the color of the text inside, so I'm going to select my text and give it just plain white so it stands out just a little bit more. There we have it. And in the next video, where we are going to actually start animating our design, we are going to add multiple slides to our hero section. We are going to animate this text, all of these buttons and so on. But in this video, I just want to quickly show you how to edit all of these cards. So let's now move on and One key thing right here is to have components. So you can see that we have special offer cards. What I can do with all of these, because they are in the repeat grid, is I can add quick styling to them. So what I can do is simply select my one of them, which is the first one, because as you know, we created just this first one and then we created repeat grid. So I can jump inside of my first one, which is this one, and I will simply paste my appearance from my original design. And as you can see, it's going to apply everywhere. So what I did right here is I removed the border. I included the shadow. Shadow is 000, so completely black at 5%. I gave it the X position of 5, Y position of 5, blur of 10, and as I said, 5% for the opacity. And now that that's completed, I can jump inside of this one and I can change it. So I can give it a main blue, and you can see that it updated everywhere. But something happened here with this arrow. Something strange. So let's jump inside the layers panel. I'm going to click on my arrow BG and just change that. And now everything is fine, as you can see right here. So what I'm actually going to do now is make some changes to these other ones. So first things first, I should probably give them different names. So let's try to do that while we are here. So I'm going to call this Paris. And I'm going to simply copy and paste in my text from my original design. So everything should match all of these names. So let's call this one Tokyo. Like that. And for the Tokyo, we can give it this. This should be Krakow, for example. Capital of Poland. This one here should be Bali, for example. And let's copy the text from Bali like that. And finally, this one should be Taipei. And I want to give them different prices, different visual interest, different availability, and different ratings, most crucially, because I want to show to my users that all of these trips last for different amounts of time. So instead of 24 days here, we can add, for example, 14 days, like that. This one right here should be 12 days. This one for the Paris should be 7 days, for example. So you can see, because they are in a stack, they are holding their position really well. This can be 4 days, and finally Taipei can be 12 days. And because all of them last differently, all of them are going to have different prices. So before we jump in and change all of our prices, I'm going to click on my first one. And first of all, for this text, I'm going to change its color to the dark gray. For this text, we're going to choose main blue, and you can see that it updated throughout our design. Finally, I don't really like how this text color looks like, so I'm going to change it as well to dark gray. And I'm going to do the same for this one. And for the names of our locations, I'm going to use almost black, and you can see now it really pops and it really shows what we wanted it to show. Right here, because I have all of these different icons, I'm going to create some changes to them. So let's start from here, from Taipei. So I'm going to jump inside of here, where you can see we are in the middle, transportation. And as I said, for example, if you're traveling, let's say from Europe, because I'm based in Serbia, let's say that I'm traveling from Serbia, not all of these are going to be available to me with all of these options. So for example, I cannot possibly fly to Bali and use the car, or go there by a car. So I will just have to use, for example, my plane. So for the Taipei, what I can do is, for example, I can choose bus, not available, like that. And you can see that it updates everywhere. So we will have to do that later in prototyping, because it updates everywhere, and I should actually ungroup my grid and then change that throughout. So let's do that, because we've basically finished everything right here that we need to finish. The last thing we want to do is to add hover states, but as I said, we're going to do that in the next video. when we start prototyping, but I just want to quickly go ahead and add my images. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually ungroup my grid like this. I get all of these different options. And what I don't really like is that the first one is this last one here in the layer stack, and this last one is the first one in the layer stack. So I'm going to give them names. So this is Hurghada, this is Paris. Hey designers, sorry to interrupt myself, but I just wanted to quickly mention that you can get this practice file alongside every course and product I have ever made in my membership. You can get this practice file if you want to follow along this and every future video I make. A link is going to be down in the description below, so you can check it out if you're interested. Now let's get back to the video. And now that that's finished, I'm going to simply align them like this. And I'm going to order them like they actually should be, like this. I'm simply holding my control key and simply moving them up and down. So now the last step obviously is to add images. So let me start with my Hurghada image. So I'm going to simply drag and drop. I'm going to choose my Paris image, go with my Tokyo image. Just let me check in my folder because I have a bunch of these different images. So let me see, there we have it. This is Tokyo. Let me locate my Krakow image. There we have it. Bali. And finally Taipei, drag and drop right here. Now that that's completed and that I have all of my locations, what I'm going to do is the thing which I said previously. So I'm going to jump inside of middle right here, transportation, and I'm going to choose my bus, not available. Perhaps we can go there by a car, for example. Train is not an option and plane is an option, obviously. Krakow, everything can be right here. And Paris, let's say everything except for example, I don't know. Let's say that actually in this case, because these are lower prices, for example, so let's first edit that. So depending of the price, there is going to be a different availability for transportation. So 2430, for example. This can be 2260. This one can be 295, so really cheap option. And it lasts just 7 days, 184. Even cheaper because it lasts just 4 days, and 1840, like that. So let's say for the Krakow and transportation, let's say that just the bus is available because of its price. So, and actually you can go there by a car if you choose to. So if you have your own car, for example. For the Paris, let's say that transportation bus is available, car, train is not, and plane is not. So once again, I'm doing this just to show some visual interest to our design for Bali, because it's a long away destination from our location. We are just going to have a plane available. So I'm going to click through all of these, and this is why it's handy to create all of these additional states. And we are going to explain states in the next video when we jump to animation. For Tokyo, we're just going to leave the plane like this. And finally, for Hurghada, we're just going to remove the train. So transportation and the train, we are going to hide it, and all of these other options are going to stay available. So now that that's completed, basically these cards are pretty much completed. In the next video, as I said, we are going to add different animations. So one thing which I want to change right here are basically these shadows, because yeah, actually let's just leave them there and let's work on our buttons. So for these buttons, we are going to basically add the same thing as we did previously. So let's create one right here, and then we can copy it right here and move it, because it doesn't really matter because they are now empty. So Control D, I'm going to call this button color. and do the same thing like we did right here. So main blue, hide the border. I'm going to give it a height of 1, simply move it down, lower the opacity down to 0, and basically call it a day for this one. And I'm going to delete this one, duplicate this one, move it right here, change its name to, instead of all first, all last, like that, and just move this one up a little bit because we're going to add some animations later. Now for this video, what I want to do is basically create the same thing as I did right here at the top. So I want to create a all overlay. So Control D. We're going to call this video color overlay, just so that we know what it is. We're going to use almost black, 70%, so you can simply hit 7 on your keyboard and hide it, because if I don't hide it, when I drag and drop my image, it's going to simply put it inside of the video, which we don't want, and we want to position it on the background. So let's see, I can drag and drop my promo video inside, and you can see how nice it looks. Now for these European destinations, once again, we created them using stacks. And I did that on purpose because we are going to create a bunch more of these later. So what I can do actually is use one of these and create it as a component. And then I can change that component later. So that's going to be my main component. So just imagine removing these three, creating this as our component while still keeping the stack. So when you duplicate it, it's just going to move there. And I'm going to do that just to show you how that works. So this first one is going to be for the Paris. So let's jump inside and change that. And actually, before we do, I forgot to change the rating right here on these locations, just so that we can keep it interesting. So for the Tokyo, I'm going to jump inside of my rating. I'm going to select this star and actually ungroup my grid. Use this last star, and I'm going to have to create additional states. As you can see, we have this option, so you can edit main component. When you click right there, it's going to create it right here, and you can simply create a new state, call it for example gray, and inside of your gray state, what we're going to do is simply use light gray, which is going to indicate that this is either not available or that the rating is that. So I can simply remove it, jump back to my design, and it showed us that because we created them right here. So when I jump inside of here, so for the Tokyo, and select my star once again, you can see we have that state. Click on it and you can see now we have 4-star rating. So we're going to keep 5 for Hurghada and Bali. Let's organize ourselves a little bit. So right here, and I can call this rating, and I'm going to copy it because I'm going to use it for all of these. So I'm going to click right here, ungroup grid, Control G to group them back, and paste that text in, call it rating. And I'm going to do the same for all of them. And now finally, let's go ahead and apply that rating to these locations. So for the Paris, we can go with gray for this one and gray for this one. So we can have 3-star rating for this location. For Krakow, or even better, these can be, for example, for the hotels. So as you can see, there are plenty of different options you can explore with your clients and with your layout. So this can either be the overall trip of the overall location of the overall hotel or whatever else. So you can really play around with all of these information. Let's just apply this to here like so. And I'm going to close these special offers so that we can focus on this one right here. So for the Paris, I'm going to jump inside of here, do the same thing. So I'm going to ungroup it from here. Hit Control G, and you can see it kept the same characteristics because we applied it there. We're going to have it be at gray. This is going to be Paris. So for this first one, we're going to use almost black, and this is going to be dark gray. This one right here is going to be dark gray. This is going to be dark gray. This is going to be blue. So main blue. I'm going to jump inside of here, change this to main blue. And now that all of that is completed, I can jump in and add my image for the Paris. So Paris image right here. Instead of this text, I'm going to change it to explore the city of lights. Like that. And duration is going to be 7 days, for example. Like that. Finally, I'm going to jump inside and make the changes to that background. So once again, I'm going to paste in that appearance and walk you through. So once again, we have the shadow, completely black, 5%, 5, 5, 10 for the blur, and that's how it looks like. I'm going to close all of it and call it special offer card. Let's see, or even better, Europe card, like that. And I'm going to hit Control K, or you can click right here to create your component. And I can also create a hover state, but I'm going to do that in the next video so that I can walk you through all of these different animations and elements. Now that we have that, and this is still inside of the stack, as you can see, you can simply hit Control D, Control D, Control D. Make sure to jump to your destination stack and hit 60. So it's going to distribute them evenly throughout our design. So what we can do now is we can basically jump in and change all of these. So first of all, for this one, I'm going to select London. And I'm going to change its text to something like this. Duration is fine, so 7 days. And this is just going to be 820. And if I jump inside of here and change this price to 450, you can see it doesn't change them to the rest of them because we already applied the change to this one. So I would have to simply edit it in the main component, but because we applied some changes, it already overridden them to these child components. So we can change this, for example. So I can jump inside of here, and I don't like these rounded corners at the bottom. So if I go ahead and change that to our image, so jump inside of here, so bottom left and bottom right, we're going to reduce it to 0 and then to 0. And when I apply that change, you can see it doesn't apply everywhere. So when I jump inside of there, click right here, it's going to show us that main component. And inside of that main component, I can click and then change it there. So 0, 0. And now it applies throughout our design. So now when I change them, you can see how that looks like. So basically, in short, whatever you're trying to do, make sure to edit it in the main component. That way the changes are going to propagate throughout the rest of your components. So let's now go ahead and change this. So as I said, we are going to change it to London, like that. I'm going to paste in this text, and the price is going to be 820. Like that. Let's see, this is a main card and these are the child components. So London, and I'm going to jump inside of here and change this to 450. And you can see it propagated from here because we made the duplicate right here. So let's move on. This should be, let's see, Rome. And I'm going to copy and paste the text just so I don't bore you. Instead of 7 days, we're going to have 5 days, and the price for Rome is going to be 170. And finally, this last one can be Prague, for example. And I'm going to copy the text, paste it in. Instead of 7 days, we're going to have 10 days. And instead of 450, we are going to have 289. And there you have it, our design is pretty much completed. What I want to do next is simply play around with some ratings. So we have 4 right here. For the Rome, for example, I want to jump inside and remove one more so that I have 3. For London and Paris, it's fine, so we're not going to play around with them too much. And one final thing is, because we have Paris, we have to add London. So drag and drop our image inside of here. We have to add our Rome image. And finally add our Prague image. And you can see that these changes are already overridden. So basically, The last thing I can do right here, because we didn't touch it yet, is the shape of the overall card, dimensions of these images, placing between our items inside of our stack, shape and color of these background elements for our arrows and so on, and the overall width and height of the card. So there is much more I can still change. For example, I can jump inside of here and increase the size of this destination image to something like this, and you can see that it updates in real time throughout our design. I can also make changes to this, so I can round the corners if I want to, and basically it's going to propagate throughout our design. So that's why these cards are useful, and especially their other states. So we're going to create hover states later for each of these, and you can see it's going to be a lot of fun. So for this one, we're going to jump inside once again, call it button color, and I can drag and drop that button right here, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to show you how to do it this way, but I would not recommend it. I would just recommend you to create one single button and then copy and paste it throughout your design, and that's going to be much more cleaner looking than this, but I want to show you both ways as well. So basically I'm doing exactly the same thing as I did previously, so I'm not going to bore you with those details. Now let's move on to this section, and the only thing basically what I want to do right here is to change this color. So let's jump inside our image, choose image background color. I'm going to choose main blue, and for this image itself, let's see, I can drag and drop one image from my computer. Let me quickly find it. Here it is. Once again, just to reiterate, all of these are from Envato Elements. Get a free quote. I'm going to jump inside of there and Control D. I can actually create these different components and then edit them later. I'm going to show you that as well. So this is one approach when you create all of these buttons like this, and in the next video I'm going to show you approach which I actually recommend, because as I said, I want to show you both approaches. In the next video I'm going to show you approach where you create one component and then simply drag and drop it and position it throughout your design and simply change the content inside of your component. But for now, let's just do it like this. So button color, change it to blue, like this, move it down, and let's now move on. So now that that's finished, we can work on these, and once again, same thing. What I can do is create this as a component and simply place it throughout. Because we call this stop destinations, maybe we can call it destination component or something like that. So I'm going to once again apply that same styling. So I'm going to jump inside to my destination card BG. I'm going to right click, paste appearance. So basically the same settings. So white for the fill color, we have this same shadow, 0.005%, so everything is exactly the same. I'm using the same styling. So we have this text completed, and I'm going to call it destination card, for example, or top destination card, like this. I'm going to remove these two, and I'm going to convert this to components. So hit Control K, or once again you had that plus icon right here. Because we are in a stack, I'm going to hit Control D, make sure I am 60 in my stack, like that, and now I can simply change the information inside. So this is going to be the Maldives. So let's see, Maldives. I'm going to drag and drop it. This can be, for example, Lake District, which is in the UK. Position my image there. And finally, this last one can be Tuscany, which is in Italy. And I can simply drag my image there as well. And finally, for these, let's apply some changes. So for these prices, I'm actually going to choose the blue color, like that. And I'm going to do the same here as well. And I don't know why it chose this, so let's change it to main blue. There we go. And let's go right here, default state. So it showed me that this is my default state, so I don't know why that is when I put them inside of my stacks. So let's change that, put this to be first, this is going to be second, this is going to be third. So let's quickly change that to this. So this is going to be Maldives, like that. And we're going to change this from in our main component to dark gray. It's going to propagate to here. So you can see sometimes even the stack gets you some of these weird results. So I'm just going to replace these two images. So this is going to be Maldives, this is going to be Tuscany, like that. And for the Tuscany image, let's drag and drop that. There we go. Maldives, we have that text. Now for the Lake District, I'm going to select and paste this text in, and I'm going to simply expand it just a touch to this so that we have two lines of text. Make sure it's in the center. And finally, I'm going to do the same for the Tuscany. There we go. And I'm going to expand it and do the same thing, so make sure it's in the center like that. Finally, I'm going to change these prices. So for this one, we're going to have it be at 730. This one is going to be at 1620, and this one can be at 1250, which is fine. And now let's close all of these like this. There we go. And now let's move on and work on this section, which is our testimonials. So we have our testimonial card. I'm going to call it testimonial card 1. Make a few duplicates. So 1, this is going to be 2. This is going to be 3. And this is going to be 4, like that. And basically the only thing which I'm going to change are the names and the images inside of our testimonials. So let's start with the testimonial 1. We have image right here. So I'm going to drag and drop my image in. And this guy is going to be James Martin. And we can actually change the color of this text to almost black. We can also create a component for this if you want to, but I'm not going to. And finally, travel to Paris is going to be main blue. Well, let's actually change that and give it Hurghada, like that. Now that that's finished, we can hide this one. Move on to number 2. Number 2 is going to be, for example, Aubrey Jackson. And I'm not going to bother with changing this text of the actual testimonial. You can do that obviously, and when you're working with our clients, you can use the real text, but I'm not going to, as I said. This can stay at traveled to Paris, or we can say visited Paris, or whatever you want. And we can just change this to testimonial image number 1. This is going to be testimonial image number 2, because it's going to be easier for us to export these images later. This is going to be 3, and this is going to be 4. Let's go back to 2, and I'm going to select my image, jump inside my images folder, drag and drop my image there. And let's now move on to this third one, like that. Let's change this guy's name to something else, like Arthur Hammond, like that. And he traveled to, let's say, Bali, for example. And now let's go ahead and change these colors once again. So you can see why these are useful. You can simply just click on them and apply these changes instantly. And once again, if you did create this as a component, it's going to be even more simpler than this. But as I said, I want to show you all the different solutions. So this is going to be a female, so Mary Ann Brown, for example, and she traveled to Tokyo. Now for this first one, I'm going to change it to blue, dark gray, and finally Tokyo blue. and we're going to end it there because I'm going to animate these in the next video, and I'm going to show you different ways that you can animate these actually. Now let's move on to wellness, and basically these sections are going to be exactly the same as the sections that I showed you on top. So all of them are going to have their own color overlay. So we are going to basically use exactly the same settings. So for the trip categories, let's open them up. This is wellness image. So wellness image, and I'm going to drop this in color overlay. This is going to be cruises. Cruises image, color overlay. And finally, this is going to be skiing, color overlay, like that. And I'm actually going to remove this from here. So I'm just left with my image, and this is color overlay. So I can select all three like this, make sure I use almost black, hit 7 on my keyboard to make sure they are all at 70, and I'm going to lower them down in opacity. Hide them like this, and I can simply find my images in my folder, drag and drop them inside. I'm going to then select my cruises like that, and finally I'm going to select my skiing, drag and drop. And now when you show your color overlay, you can see how nice this looks. Finally, what I want to do is actually paste in those settings. So I can show my shadow, go all the way to here, go to 5, use 5, 5, 10, like that. And I can set this up to be the same for these two. So I can simply use 5, 5, 10. I can jump inside of here and lower this down to 5. So all of them have exactly the same drop shadow as we did before. With the partners, there is nothing much to change, but right here, what I don't really like are these prices. So what we can do is jump inside of the price for each one, select 1250, use main blue, and main blue, just so that it stands out a little bit like that. Let's go ahead and close these folders and move on to the next section, which is book your dream trip, because with the partners there is nothing really much there to change. I'm going to adapt this, and I'm not going to waste your time once again with this get a free quote because you already saw the setting. We're just going to leave it like it is there. What I don't really like here is the color of this text, which we are going to change in a second. But before we do, let's work on this image real quickly. So I'm going to simply drag and drop it in place like that and call it a day for that section. As I said, this text color doesn't really work all that well for me. So I'm going to jump inside and change it for all of these sections to dark gray. You can see now it stands out much better. And you can see why design matters in these cases. So you cannot just jump inside and change these. And what I would also do is for these, we're going to apply the same styling as we did before. So for the Maldives, I'm going to use almost black. You can see it propagated everywhere. And for the description text, I'm going to use dark gray. You can see it stands out much better than before. Now for this color, let's change it as well. Let's go back to dark gray. This is fine here. This is fine here, and there we have it. So the last thing for us to change is this color right here. So let's adapt it, and let's go with this. So button BG, and I'm going to simply change it to main blue because the text inside is already white, and I'm going to leave this outline. And now finally for the end of our design, let's work on our footer. But before I do, I just want to quickly close all of these because, as I said multiple times, I like to keep things organized and I like to know where I am at all times. For the footer, it's going to be extremely simple. The only thing which we are going to do is I'm going to have this footer BG, but I'm going to rename it to footer image. Like that. Control D one more time and call it footer image color overlay. Like that. Do the same settings as you're guessing. Hit 7 on my keyboard. Jump back to here. And for my footer image, I'm going to simply drag and drop the image from my folder, which is just a girl lounging in the pool. Click right here and you can see that we have this nice footer like that. Now, basically our design is completed at this point. What I don't really like are these outlines on our testimonial cards. So we can open each of them and we can select each of them. So testimonial card, card, and we're going to apply those same settings. So remove the border, include the shadow, 5, 5, 10. You can see it's extremely dark, but when we lower it down to 5, it's good enough, and it's going to help these cards stand out. When I remove all of them, you can see that now we have this nice looking shadow, but I'm going to show them for now because we didn't create them as components yet. We're going to do that in the next video. So basically our design is pretty much completed at this point. What I didn't enter are these for destinations, and I'm going to do that in the next video because I want to show you one more thing about these a bit more advanced animations. And before we finish off this video, let's click preview right here. Let's enter full screen and you can see what we have so far. So really a nice looking website with all of these nice looking components, and with some of these pre-animated like this one, you can see what it does. And we're going to include a bunch of these different components a bit later in the next video. But you can see text is nice and easy to read. All of these sections look great. The shadow is too strong, but we're going to reduce it once we remove these cards and not show them all at once. You can see these slight shadows look really nice, and this color overlay really helps separate our design from here. Partners are looking great, and what we can also do is lower down these in opacity if you think that they are too strong, but I think they are good enough for this. This color right here looks good, but the position is off, so we're going to change that. We just have to move it to here, or let's see, no, actually position is good. It should be like that. Sorry, I confused it with the image on top with this one, but it should actually stay like that. These are good. This is good. Everything is nice and readable. Subscribe works, which is great. And there we have it. So that's our design completed. As I said, in the next video, we're going to work on our animation. I'm going to show you how to animate all of these different things, how to animate these components that we created, how to add different hover states, how to add visual interest to your design, and really blow your clients away with all of these animations, and make your developer's life a lot more simpler, because you're going to show them where they can take this design once they actually start coding. Thank you for watching this video, and I really hope you found some value in it. If you did, make sure to press that like button. Make sure to subscribe, because I upload new videos here on the channel every single week on design, passive income techniques, motivation and more. So make sure to check that out and make sure that you are subscribed. Also, don't forget to check out the course. Links are going to be down in the description below for that massive discount. Just remember, enter coupon code YouTube to get that massive discount, or you can simply go to my membership and get all of my courses, products, mentorship, Facebook group and much more there by simply getting that membership. Also, don't forget to check out the video playlist. Link is going to be down in the description below for everything I'm mentioning in these videos, and make sure to check back next week for the next video. Thank you for watching and take care.